Hello and welcome to Videonet's series of IBC 2017 video interviews. I'm Barry Flynn, contributing editor at Videonet, and with me I have Tom Munro, CEO of connected video revenue security specialist Verimatrix. Welcome, Tom, or should I say welcome back?
It's great to be back.
Yeah, thank you. So this year at IBC, our conversation is not so much about the new products you're announcing yourselves, but about some of the broader contexts in which TV delivery technology is currently evolving. So, for instance, trends towards virtualization and the cloud. And one of the things you seized on is that two perhaps competing approaches to next generation multi-screen operations appear to be emerging. One is what we might call the OVP model, where you outsource much of what you do to an online video platform. And the other we could call the DIY model, where you handle everything in-house. So, Tom, what do you perceive to be the pros and cons of these two different approaches we've just described?
Between OVP as opposed to do-it-yourself
DIY,
in-house.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting to see decision makers work their way through those. And I think looking at cable companies who have gone to, in increasing numbers in the US, towards the Comcast X1 platform, for example. They're looking towards a managed service solution. Again, it comes back to what's different, what's special about your offer. Well, in their case, perhaps it's the geography in which they operate or the data service that underlies it. And maybe the look and feel of the user interface needs to be good, but not perhaps differentiated. So I think it comes down to a choice about what it is that you want to do to make your service unique and better.
So on the face of it, addressing that point, doing it yourself would appear to offer more flexibility. I mean, for instance, you could choose your own preferred mix of best of breed vendors, and you could swap them in and out in a more agile fashion than if you were completely outsourced. Is that right?
I don't know that it is, actually, and I think, again, I think you're going to be able to buy the components a la carte. So you might make a decision, for example, about cloud encoding solutions, and there might be 4 or 5 good choices. And which of those you use for an in-house derived platform, certainly you've got flexibility. But I don't know that it goes away if you took a broader OVP solution and said, I really like the performance of this encoder, or for the distribution model I have in mind, I would prefer to lead with that CDN. I think those choices could be made in either of those realms. The OVPs are wise enough to be flexible to customer needs and listen to what's being asked.
What about the relative costs, though? I mean, is it just a case of horses for courses? If you've got deep enough pockets, you can afford to go down the build in-house, do-it-yourself approach. Otherwise, if you want, if you're on a lower budget and you want to reduce your operational costs, you have to outsource some or all of your operations.
Barry, I'm not sure at the end it's purely economically driven. I think it's that's a factor always, but we've got a great advisory board with some former CTOs of cable companies and others that have given us some advice on this topic, and they think that as I rank order those decisions, economic decisions only that a cable company makes, content is pretty high, and advertising is pretty high, and home CPE is pretty high, but the cost of things like encoding, you're talking power bills, and so they're relevant, and to the degree that they're distinctively out of line, perhaps there's an adjustment, but operational flexibility, scalability, reliability, these are much more important. So I think cost must be satisfied, but it's really often more driven by other factors. I need to quickly get to market with a new solution that does HEVC. What's the fastest track there? I need a 4K over-the-top implementation. What's the fastest path to market to the most devices? So I think other things drive it than pure economics.
So if we're agreed that pure economics isn't the deciding factor, then that would imply that there's not necessarily a competitive advantage being exercised by the big pay TV operators with deep pockets over those who are going for a cheaper, if you like, or cheaper to run anyway, OVP solution.
I think it's fair to say that the barriers for entry have come down. And it used to be quite a significant capital, expense up front to be a player in the video space. And with cloud technologies and subscription technologies, it's no longer true, right? You can get direct to consumers on billions of devices right over the internet using other people's technology relatively effectively. So perhaps your overall cost, OpEx versus CapEx might be different, but the barrier to entry has gone down. So I think that's certainly true. So what was a stronghold for the large, well-funded cable operator perhaps isn't as competitive barrier as it was some time ago.
So looking at these twin approaches as they exist today and looking to the future, are we going to see convergence or divergence?
I would say there's going to be a broad trend towards cloud-based services and a fragmentation of it. In other words, those interoperable elements that you could combine through cloud platforms, store here, encode there, encrypt here, and you can buy those as you need, where you need, at the scale you need. And I think that'll be a broad trend over time.
Okay, so as it happens, Tom, and as you know, there is a report published by Videonet about this, which is downloadable from the Videonet site. So if you're interested in a bit more detail in some of the research that's gone into this, then do download it and read up on the background. So thanks very much, Tom. That's all we've got time for, I'm afraid, at the moment. But I'd like to thank you for taking part in this Videonet interview. And also thank you, the audience, for watching. And from Tom and myself, it's goodbye.